Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Galentine's Day. How about that? Are you there? You're here. All right.
Yeah.
Hi, Dom.
I'm here. I opened it on my phone and now it keeps playing out loud.
Yep, that's me in the background screaming. yeah, you know. Yeah, well, I want everyone to feel loved on Valentine's Day. So happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Thanks for joining us for another episode of You Choose Sundays. This one on Valentine's Day. I didn't even plan it this way. Isn't this sweet? I love it.
Oh, I thought you did.
No, I mean, listen, the calendar does what it does. I just show up. I truthfully didn't even realize that Valentine's Day was on a Sunday till a week ago. And I was like, oh, let me get myself together. So welcome. I'm so glad I can have you back today, though, because this is going to be fun.
It is. I'm excited.
So welcome, everybody, to You Choose Sundays. Again, happy Valentine's Day. I'm talking to my friend Dom Wilson today, and we're talking about self-love. But more than just self-love, we're talking about compassion today. But before we do that, let me put my comments up, because I forget every time. And I'm sorry, everyone. I am a work in progress. Show me grace. Okay? Thank you. So, hey, if you're watching, go ahead and show up in the comments and let me know where you're watching from, because sometimes people are watching from LinkedIn, sometimes people are watching from Facebook, all that good stuff. But let me go over here to this good banner. So, Valentine's Day is a day for lovers, so they say, right? I know that me and my husband, we've been together 17 years now, married 15, and we do Valentine's Day differently, like in the way that we really don't do it. Every day is Valentine's Day. I could say it that way, but honestly, let me tell you, we're both super frugal people. And I'm like, don't buy me no card that I'm about to throw away. Basically. Seriously though. And I'm like, the way to my heart, let's eat something good and watch some good television. He's like, word, because that's what I want to do as well. So I'm so glad that I get to really spend Valentine's Day with somebody who I really do love and who is just my equal in every way. Friendship first, like that's what it's got to be about. And I'm so glad about that. I thought about earlier the very first gift that he gave me for Valentine's Day, and it was a Game Boy. So some of you will remember the Game Boy, but they also, like in the early 2000s, they came out with another Game Boy, and it was like more square. And I remember, like, for the first Valentine's Day, he like gives me this red Game Boy with both Street Fighter and Tetris. I was like, oh, you trying to marry me? I already know what's up. Look at us now. Look at us now. Look at us now. He knew. He knew. He was like, this weirdo girl, she don't want no cards and no flowers. Let me get her this Game Boy. It worked. It worked. It totally worked. He's a genius. He's a genius. So we're going to be talking about self-love today. But first, I got to get in your business. You're my friend, and we haven't talked for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Are you celebrating with anyone special?
Myself.
Okay, guess what? You will never, ever let you down. I know that about you. Amen.
I always say I'm the perpetually single friend.
Maybe not for long. For those of you watching this live stream, I'm just saying. Okay, yep. All right, so perpetually single, but you're okay with that too. And I love that about you. Like, some people are very woe is me about being single, and you've never been that kind of person as long as I've known you now. We've known each other for about 4 years now, almost.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
It does make sense though. But it doesn't bother me.
No, it doesn't bother. I've never ever heard you complain about being single. And you have just always been a person who really shows up for yourself, and that shows up in how you show up for others. And I love that about you. And you do that so well naturally that you made a whole business out of it. So you teach people how to better love themselves. And tell me what that looks like. Tell me what you do. What's your business? What do you
Yeah.
do?
So the business is called Love You Too, and I help people create self-acceptance strategies so they can get the most out of their lives.
Okay. So tell me, how does that happen?
So it's a lot of, I like to say it's a lot of on air because that's how I figure stuff out.
Say that
So
again.
it's a lot of trial and error. Just
Okay.
like
Okay.
I think pretty much anything else. It's a lot of figuring out, what makes you happy, not just what should make you happy. It's
Yeah.
what personally inside you makes you happy. Helping you better understand yourself, and then just starting to do more and more of the things that make you feel good, and make you, just really optimistic and excited about who you are.
Yeah. I love that. One of the reasons I think I love it so much too is because I think maybe even really compassionate people have a hard time being compassionate with themselves.
Oh,
Um, I
guilty.
know I could be that way sometimes, right? Right. So we have all of these higher expectations for other people and we show them grace, but we don't have it for ourselves. So it sounds like one of the things you do is really get at the core of why maybe people aren't doing that, and then you teach them how. And you
Yep,
said it's through
exactly.
trial and error. So
Yeah.
what do you tell me, if you can, without like giving away information about your clients? Tell me what working with you looks like if you are somebody who's saying in 2021 I need to be better to myself.
Mm-hmm. So the first thing we always do is, I have to say, we set self-love goals. And so it's basically, what does self-acceptance look like for you?
Mm,
And a lot of times, like I just said, happiness. And happiness does not look the same for everybody.
yeah.
It doesn't. And what it means doesn't even look the same or sound the same for everybody. And so, for me, like a big part of that, this about me, is just feeling calm. If I feel calm, I'm gonna feel good. If I don't, then like everything just off the rails. And so, but other people, like, you don't have issues with anxiety like I do. So, so for you, it would look completely different. So we just like really look hard at what that means, um and not just what it means, but why it means those things to you.
Okay.
Because why is really, that's the most important part, is the whys.
Yeah. So I think too, when we're talking about why people feel the way that they feel, I think people even feel sometimes maybe even guilty about thinking about themselves, like putting themselves first. I don't feel that way. I'm not
No.
that person. I'm not that person. But it's because I really think like in order for me to be a good wife and a good mom and a good friend and all of those things, I have to love me first.
Yep.
Because you know what? Another thing about me that probably you know about me too, but some of my other close friends know about me. I am like I'm hyper focused on people taking advantage of me. I don't like it. And sometimes I'm obsessive about it. So I'm looking for it. It's not a good way for me to be at all. But that is naturally how I can be sometimes. So I think even just understanding that about myself and not beating myself up about it, that's what self-love might look like for me, is when I question somebody right away, just instead of beating myself up about doing that, just saying, okay, that was a feeling. I can feel that way until I don't have a reason to feel that way.
Exactly.
But I think we do feel really guilty about thinking about ourselves and why we think the way we think, and we try to shut it off really quickly.
Yeah.
So,
And sorry, go ahead.
no,
I was gonna say, it's good though that you say that, because a lot of times, especially because it's self-love. So I like to talk a lot of very positively. That's what I was trying to say. So sometimes people are like, oh, it's a positivity, site. And then like, no, because if you don't have to always feel positive, like that's unrealistic,
yeah.
But or also like how you, like you said, the vibe you might get from somebody. Like part of self-acceptance is knowing that you can listen to those vibes that you have and trusting yourself and not feeling like, oh no, well, I should be trusting and I should give them a chance, and or I'm wrong. Basically, it's almost like you're gaslighting yourself almost, when you don't listen to that. So I was glad you mentioned that.
Yeah. So I think too about that. Yeah, I used to always like try to talk myself out of that when I felt that from somebody, and I'd be like, there you go, like being super judgmental again, whatever it was, instead of listening to my intuition and listening to my body. But I always felt very deeply, as I do now, that if you don't figure out how to love yourself, there are going to be two kind of people in this world. There are going to be people who really nurture that in you, and they are natural caregivers and they want to love on you. And they're going to be people who totally take advantage of that. And when you love somebody else more than you love yourself, just for me, how I feel, that person is either, again, going to totally take advantage of that position in your life and take full advantage of it, or you're going to burn them out, because it's hard to like constantly love somebody who doesn't love themselves. It just, no, thank you.
Yeah, so it's hard for you or for the other person. It can be hard for you to have to constantly, you're trying to pour into this person and they haven't done the work themselves. And so it's like, you can't love somebody for themselves, for them. They have to do that themselves.
Right. And I'll be tired, so I don't be trying to figure nobody else out.
Exactly. I be tired all the time, so yeah.
Listen, I'm not trying to secret decode what you feel, any of that. I don't have time. I'm trying to figure myself out, okay? I'm trying to be the best me I can be. So what are some ways, I want to talk about two different things right now. What are some ways you think people can practice, especially people who feel guilty about putting themselves first? Okay. First of all, I hope that people will watch this today and say, it's okay to put myself first. Yep. Even if I have a spouse, even if I have children, even if I'm taking care of loved ones or whoever, it is still perfectly okay, normal, and healthy for me to put myself first. So what are some ways that people can do that? And then what are some more maybe unconventional ways you see people doing that? I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
So one of the things is when you put yourself first, you show up better for other people, because like you're not exhausted or overwhelmed and you don't resent them or the things you have to do for them as much, because you've done stuff for you. The most simple thing of that for me is rest. Like everybody knows, don't call me probably after like 10, 11, because I'm in it. I don't have any more to see after that time because I can't help you.
That's real. So don't call her after 11, even if it's an emergency. She's not gonna be helpful.
Well, because if I'm asleep, I wake up very loopy. So yeah, I'm useless. So for me, like I said, that's rest, and it's also anything I can do to keep my anxiety down. But for other people, that might be actually, I'm going to name stuff I do that I know helps other people. So okay. Rest, eating on schedule. Because a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times if I'm getting like pissed off about stuff or even just getting anxious, sometimes I'm just hungry and I just need to stop what I'm doing to eat.
You're hangry.
Yeah.
Yep, that's real thing.
Yeah. And then I eat and I'm like, oh, that was fine.
You need a Snickers bar.
Yeah. And everybody else is like, oh, okay. But I'm good now. I think a lot of us are like that. Another good thing, and this is something I need to do more of, is meditating. Whatever that looks like for you, because meditation, prayer, just being still and quiet for a little while, going for a drive, like something that lets you just be like in the moment. Just be there. Because I've always been very bad I'm always thinking about all the stuff I got to do.
Yeah.
And not the moment that I'm in right now, and possibly all the stuff I have actually already done. So, and accomplished.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really big one. Is like allowing yourself to just be like right here. And then I forget the second half of the
question. Do you see some other maybe less conventional ways that people practice self-love?
Let's see. Yeah, so one of the things people look at this as kind of like, why you do that? And it's when everybody got plants last year, myself included. But it's like for me, and I think this is for a lot of people who didn't already have them, is like if you started working from home, you had more time to figure out this plant and what to do with it.
Yeah, and care for it.
Yeah, and you're at home more, so you want more nice things around you that maybe you didn't notice that there was a blank spot in your room, and now you notice and you're like, hey, something green will look nice there.
Yeah.
Plant. And then also just having plants in your house is good for like certain ones are good for they detoxify the air, and then they also give off oxygen, which you need more of. So it's like I think a lot of times you look at it as, oh, you just got all these plants. Why? But they serve a purpose. And even like I don't do it as much because I bought a bunch of fake flowers, but I used to get real flowers all the time. And
told me that.
Yeah, and people were like, but they're just gonna die. And I'm like, yeah, but like in 2 weeks, like they're gonna be here a while. And it's nice to have something alive in your house.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, they'll die, but you get to enjoy them while they're here. And that goes back to like being in the moment.
Yeah. So I want to put up this comment really quickly. Hold on a second. Let me get this one down. Okay. Hi, David. If you're still there, David. David says you can still put yourself first and involve others as well. Yeah, that's a really great point. Because when I think of self-love, the first thing I thought of is rest. When you brought up rest, like I said this before, like I'm a notorious napper. Like if I'm tired, I'm gonna take a nap. Okay.
I wish I could nap.
Girl, I nap. Okay. So rest is very important to me. But another thing that's really important to me that really recharges me, that re-energizes me outside of that is really spending time with Nick and the boys and with my dad too. Like I spend a lot of time with my dad. My dad is getting older and I'm just, man, I've been thinking about my dad getting older a lot lately. I don't have my mom anymore, and damn it, it just like it's setting in me, you know, like that these are the core people in my life that really help me be who I am, you know. So I think that that's really important, is that, yeah, putting yourself first can still involve, you know, including others. So thanks for that, David. That's really good.
Another friends, like hanging out with you and, you know, seeing my other friends is always really good for me, especially when I talk about living the moment, because I'm going to just be with y'all when we're together and I don't worry about all the stuff that I need to do. If I'm by myself, I'm going to start thinking about it.
Yeah. Another thing that you brought up that I really love too is the whole thing with plants. You know, I'm a plant mom, and you invited me to this plant group on Facebook, right? This Black planters group. And honestly, it is the only reason that I log on to Facebook anymore. I get on and I say what I say on Facebook and I get off. People know that about me. Like I might not ever see your comments because I don't come on like that, but I come on and these are the things I'm looking at. Black planters group, because I'm a plant mom and I love plants, and they do make me feel really good to have them around and to care for them and to see them growing. Like I even get upset when one of my plants is dying, because it takes time to, especially in this climate, we're in Michigan, to have beautiful tropical plants that you can care for in this climate. It's a big deal, y'all. I know some of you think it's not, but for me, it's huge and it makes me feel good. So I just think about those small things like that. Those are really good too. And Jeremy says, plants rule. It's hard to love others if you can't love yourself first. Yes. And love plants. Yes. I like that. So what do you have any other non-conventional ways you see people caring for themselves? Because I have one that I think might be a little controversial.
Oh,
I got a couple, but I'm not gonna bring all of them up right now.
I wish I had this book out, but I don't. But astrology.
Oh, yeah.
That's a big one for me because, and I know people have their opinions, but whatever. So astrology is very much about, it's telling you about yourself and helping you understand yourself better. So you see, obviously that works with self-acceptance. And so whenever I learn, different, planets and how they interact and all, and I read about them, I'm like, oh yeah, that is me. And I do act like that. And it's like a little bit of an affirming thing. And it also gives you a way to, if it's something that you're like, well, maybe it is bad that I am quick to act like that, you get ways to change it. And not like change yourself, but at least like, if you fly off the handles when you get mad and you be ready to kill everybody, then you
gotta know that about yourself.
Yeah.
You've got to know that about yourself so you can manage that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so now you know this is why. Like maybe you're Mars and Leo, and you like, okay, we're not gonna go scorched earth. Instead, we're gonna look at it like this.
I can understand that as well. Yes. So astrology is another good one. You know what? I'm down with JC. Everybody knows that. Who knows me? But I have always been also very drawn to mysterious things, the planets and astrology and enneagrams and what's your type. And I don't write any of it in stone, right? I don't look at like horoscopes and I'm like, that's me today. But man, there's something about it. There's something about when you read the planets. And I mean, for some people, for me, I'm like, ooh, yeah, that kind of sounds accurate. And of course, not everything is dead on, but yeah, so that's another really good one, is understanding astrology and how it works with your body. And what I was going to say was Reiki. I know more and more people are turning to Reiki as a form of self-love, because it's helping you to really maybe shift or re-energize in your body. There's a lot of thought around how your mind and your body can be very healing. I'm very interested in all of that. And that does not take away from my belief in God at all.
I say that it's really, when you look at all these things, it's really, these are different avenues for God to talk to you. Yes. And when you close yourself off from all of them, you're closing. He's like, hey, I'm trying to tell you the answer to that question you had, but you're not listening. Yep. Like that's how I look at it.
Listen, when you see my face in the toast, you know what's up.
I done had this same book pop up in front of you 5 times in random places, and you have not noticed.
Yep, I keep sending the same salty people in your direction, but you're not listening. So all of that. Yeah, so I think that all of that can be a form of self-love, is just listening to the environment around you, listening to your body, taking time to rest, getting to know yourself however you do that. Maybe it's, like you said, maybe it's through meditation, maybe it's through prayer, maybe it's through learning about history, maybe it's through learning about astrology. It's whatever works for you. So I wonder if there's anybody that's willing to leave a comment and let us know how you are practicing self-love. Another thing that I do outside of rest, this was the first year that I took care of a garden, and not with vegetables, because you know how I feel about critters. We're working on that. I got some issues, y'all. I don't care. I'm not embarrassed about it anymore, but I got some for real phobias, dude. I cannot with vegetables outside. I did have a tomato plant up on our balcony because I knew no critters were going to get in there. But you know what? I just don't feel bad about eating junk sometimes. I'm not going to, listen, I ate this Heath bar last night about 2:00 in the morning. All right. In the bed, because sometimes that's what I do when I'm watching TV. And I woke up with some crumbs in my neck. I did. And guess what? Self-love. Didn't beat myself up about it at all. But I am watching my sugar intake. Dr. Greg, I need you to know that. And I am also making sure that really making time for exercise is also, for me, a part of self-love, because I just want to be a person who, as I age, I want to be strong. I want to be strong. I want to have a healthy body. I'm really thinking about ways that I can try to live as long as I can. And so I'm trying to talk Nick into turning this area in our house. We've got a mud room off the back. Like, I need I need a sauna back there. I
Ooh,
need
I'm gonna come
some
over.
infrared lights coming down and being. Come on over, because I'm gonna get it. Gonna get it. So that's what self-love looks like to me. So what are some
I like
other
what you
things that
said
you're doing?
about. No, I like what you
No,
said
go ahead.
about yourself certain food, like junk food, because I don't. I used to eat. Well, I still do. I used to eat super super clean, and I'll say clean because that's kind of not to go down that rabbit hole, but you get into assigning like good and bad to food, and you really shouldn't do that because that's part of making you feel guilty when you eat anything, and it makes you feel bad about yourself. And so, but I used to do it, and after I got really into it, I slowly started seeing, okay, if that's how you're mostly eating, then if you have something else, if you go to McDonald's, it's not a big deal when 80-90% of everything else you eat is just like, very healthy foods. And so I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of times, in my opinion, that is another part of self-love and self-acceptance is like, hey, you want to have these things, you still like them, that makes you happy. That piece of cake is going to make you happy when you have had a rough day and it's just a piece of cake. Have it. Like, who cares? Have it before dinner. I have cake before dinner a lot of times.
You're grown, you can do whatever you want.
Exactly. Or something what I do, because I know the things like you can't have your cake and eat it too. I eat half the cake, then I eat my dinner, and then I had the rest of the cake.
Self-love, however you want to do it. Made you happy,
Exactly.
didn't hurt you, didn't hurt anyone else.
Just do what works for you.
Do what works for you. I like that. I think I want to ask you this, if you want to talk about it. Because we talked about guilt, and having compassion for ourselves can be very hard, even if we're very compassionate people. So what is one thing you think in the workplace that you used to guilt trip yourself over, but now you show yourself more compassionate about?
I can tell you something that happened the other day. That in the past I probably would have like really got upset about, but I'll let it go. So because I am a senior art director, a lot of times if anything is not perfect, then sometimes I just be like really upset about like, how did I miss that? And nobody caught that, or nobody, none of us noticed this one thing. And I actually had something, well, two things actually. One of them went live. It was just an Instagram post, and I noticed this one little thing, and I was like, I wish I would have noticed that before I sent that. And I was like, well, it doesn't matter. I mean, some people might notice it and be like, why is that there? But in the grand scheme of things, I think most people would notice, and I let it go.
Yeah.
Another thing was we were kind of rushing on a TV spot, and when it went through color correction, when I gave my notes, I said I wanted a vignette, or just kind of when you darken, an edge or something, I wanted it at the bottom. Meant I wanted it at the top for this one scene. And so when we got it back, I was like, and so I just, I asked, I was like, if we had any time at all, can we fix that? If not, and it's approved. Because, that was a mistake. It was my bad. But I wanted to share those two, because even though that is a major part of my job, it's like everybody misses something. It happens. I've seen way bigger things, bigger issues go out and go live, and things that have like huge media buys. So tons of people are going to see it like that. And sometimes you just have to be like, okay, you know what? Next time I'm going to be better. I'll make sure that I pay attention to that. Or next time we'll just fix it later. And you just have to let it go at that point, because it's out in the world. And honestly, nobody else even noticed it until I pointed out. And I think after I pointed out, most people on our team still didn't notice what I was looking at. And so
we're hard on ourselves.
Yeah. We're like
stuff that you create that nobody else would know about.
Exactly. Like when I watched it, I was like thinking about it. I was like, Dominique, don't think about like an art director. Just imagine you watching TV and it goes by real quick. Don't pause it on that spot. Don't look in that spot. And when I did, I was like, yeah, most people probably not even gonna notice that. But you know, we just we beat ourselves up, and it's like it's not that big of a deal as we make it.
So what I heard you saying is like one of the things that you have learned to stop doing when we're talking about self-love and compassion is you are learning to see when you're doing that to yourself and then making a decision to let it go.
Yep.
So I think the hard part is, hi, Katie B. I just want to say hi to my friend Katie B real quick.
Hey,
I think one of the things that's really hard though is figuring out when you're doing it.
Yeah.
So you said once you recognize you were doing it, then you were able to make another decision. I think it's really hard for people to recognize when they're being mean to themselves because we're used to being mean to ourselves.
Yep.
So
we are. And that's part of the reason, like when I talk about the setting self-love goals, it's a big part of it. It's because we also look at, and the why is a big part of it, because when you get to the why, you can start to notice when you do stuff and when you start talking, you know, negatively to yourself. And it's like I also am a content creator. And so I started doing this thing when I'm shooting video where after each take, I say something positive about it.
yes,
And so like even if I mess up the words, I'll be like, oh, but my energy was like really good there. You know, I'll do stuff like that. And it helps me to keep going and to not keep, you know, get really flustered. Or it's like, you don't have that much time to go. Like you're doing really good. Like I'll say stuff like that. And it helps in the moment. And then later when I'm editing it, it's like, oh yeah, like I have all these moments of myself saying nice stuff to myself.
So you're countering your like negative chatter in your head with something positive. I like that. That's a really good thing to do. I want to put up really quickly because Jeremy said something else that he does. He says learning to not be so hard on myself. Yeah, everybody, right? I eat and love ice cream. Yep. Same. Also having plants and a garden. Yes. These are my people.
Nice. I love ice cream too, and I'm lactose intolerant. So
Girl.
Some days I just be like, you know what? We just gonna have a stomach ache later on today because I want this ice cream.
Listen, get it out of your system right now because you said you're single. But when you attach, especially in them first 3 months, you can't have none of those kind of accidents. You're gonna be hiding in the bathroom, running the water. We all know how it goes.
3 months is about as long as I can go without dairy before I have a day where I'm like, I can't take it.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I've got another one that I want to put up. Rebecca Pilon, hi. She says, yes, it's all part of self-growth. It's hard to not be critical of yourself, but it can be directed to be constructive for you to improve.
Yeah, it can.
Yes. So I really do like that thing of like recognizing when you're being that way. So maybe we can share with like people who are watching, how are some ways you recognize it? Like in your body, how do you recognize it when you're going there?
Oh, okay. So one of the things I do if I'm getting stressed and I'm possibly the one stressing myself out is I start finding like this, or like I'm like this, or my chest will start feeling tight. Yeah. And so sometimes there is something outside happening, but other times it's just me, you know, like not removing myself or taking it, internalizing it in some way. Or I was trying to think of a third thing, but I couldn't. But yeah, basically it's like I'm not doing something that I could do to not feel that way.
Okay.
You know, usually if it's like I'm doing like this, like, okay, just take a deep breath and put your shoulders back. Yeah. That's something I can do that will help so that all of this does not hurt, you know, after a while, and helps loosen it up. Or I just take a deep breath, and that, because sometimes when you're stressed out, you don't breathe, you just kind of hold your breath. And so a good thing, a very simple thing I do a lot is just, I just take deep breaths a lot.
Yeah.
And that alone, like, just loosens stuff up. So I say it because most of the time I recognize there's tension in my body somewhere. And the tension in my body is usually a sign that I need to pay attention to what I'm doing or not doing.
Yeah. So I like the whole deep breaths. One of the things that I do, because I don't always recognize when I'm like that, because I'm working, I just work. And that's a danger for me, is like, I really enjoy the kind of work I do. So I can really work all day. I can. And I can justify it very easily because I like what I do. So what I started doing, because I don't always recognize it, I set a timer. I said this in an earlier episode. Like, I set my watch to go off every 45 to 1 hour. It'll just go off, and okay, now I know it's time for me to get up. I need to go get some water. I need to stretch. I need to throw this kettlebell. I need to do some things. And I don't always notice when I'm feeling that way. So my clock lets me know it's just time to get up. But one thing I do know is when I'm stressed out, man, I'm going right to the refrigerator before I even realize it. I'm in there. Listen, I don't even like celery. But if I'm totally stressed out, give me the celery. I just need to crunch on something. And so part of like self-love, like you said, is recognizing some of the stuff in your body. And then I'll just be looking at myself like, how did I end up with celery and Tim Hortons donut holes on the same plate? Oh, I'm stressed out.
That's balance.
Oh, I'm eating my feelings right now.
Okay, you are balanced because you had something healthy and then a bunch of sugar.
I did.
I celery wash out the sugar.
That's right. That's the Aquarius in me. Astrology showing up again. Self-love. There it is. And I'm a type 1 on the Enneagram. Wing 9.
I need to figure mine out. I don't know.
So in a couple weeks, maybe 2 or 3 weeks now, I don't remember. I'm having somebody on that's gonna be, she like is a Enneagram teacher. And so my good girlfriend Kim Watt, my girl, she's the one who put me up on the Enneagram a long time ago. Well, not too long ago, maybe two years ago now. And I told you, like, I'm always interested in all of that stuff. Like all the most horrible ghost shows, I'm watching them. I'm watching all of them. Even
during the day, though.
I know, right? I have nightmares at night, but I'm still watching. And then I'm right up under Nick, and he's like, "It's hot. Why did you even watch that? Because now I gotta suffer." So I'm interested, right? But yeah, we'll talk about the Enneagram, and I'm really excited about that. Let me see.
Nice.
Katie says, "We are so hard in judging ourselves." I talk more sugar, honey, iced tea to myself than I ever would anyone else. Katie,
yeah, most of us are like that.
Yep. Let me tell you what was the slap in my face one day about how I talked to myself, and I didn't realize it. I must have been complaining about something about myself, I'm sure. And when I do complain about myself, it's like, oh, my muffin top, I need to eat better, blah, blah, blah. It's stop, just stop, right? And I just remember Nick saying to me one day, like, you would never let anybody else talk to you the way you talk to yourself. And I was like, oh, you're right. A knuckle sandwich would be had. Every knuckle in every tooth would be had. But that's how I was treating myself. So I am more aware of that stuff, especially now with kids too, because we pass this stuff down to our kids. So it is good for your kids to see you being kind to yourself. Yeah. It is good for your nieces and nephews, for young people in your life to see you being good to yourself. So that's a good one, Katie. Thank you.
Yeah.
So that was a good conversation.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say one thing about when you were talking about body stuff.
Yeah.
Because I used to be very much like, I always would worry about my stomach was, big. And even when I would lose a lot of weight, and then the last time I lost weight, like as I gained weight and then see those pictures, I'm like, my stomach looked how I would thought I still needed to lose more weight to look. And so, and then as I continued but I was like, well, I don't want to deal with that again because I had dealt with it so long. So I was like, even though I am gaining weight, I was like, I'm going to make sure I really focus on my stomach and just being comfortable with it. And so I'm glad I did that because I ended up gaining all that weight back because of stress and a little bit more. But I always, look back and I'm like, but I don't feel like I did at other times when I was smaller. I feel comfortable, because I did that work of making sure that I kind of let that go. And part of what helped let that go was as I gained weight after a certain point, I was like, just go buy new clothes. And when I bought all these new clothes, I bought clothes that were my actual size. And guess what? Everything looked nice and smooth and good in my correct size.
I love that. Self-love. Here we go again. Self-acceptance. That doesn't mean I'm not working on some things, but I'm not going to beat myself up for being where I am. Listen, I have a forever muffin top. Okay. Like I have like a smaller frame, but let me tell you, this top portion and this middle portion, especially that middle portion, like I can't do nothing about the top. I already tried that. Did what I had to do. Thank you, Dr. So-and-so for hooking me up. But this middle part, that's just that's my body type. That's, the women in my family, we are small stature, got little cakes in the middle, little muffins, whatever. I work towards it, but I'm just not mean to myself anymore.
Exactly.
And I'll be 42 years old. You know what I mean? And that doesn't mean like I'm supposed to let myself go, but be nice to yourself. This body has birthed 2 children. That is hard. Listen, I got the battle scars to prove it. It's hard. So I'm just a lot nicer to myself. And I think it also helps, especially for those of you who are attached to somebody. I think it also helps a lot when you have somebody that reinforces that good stuff about you and that will call you out when you're not being nice to yourself. Because a lot of times if we are not nice to ourselves, there's somebody in your life you also not nice to. I know some people who just seem like they are so sweet to everybody else, but man, there's that one person that they just let have it every time. And I'm like, you gotta be nicer, be nicer to yourself. You'll be nicer to everybody else. So that was really good. Any last things you want to say? Let me see. Let me move this thing out of the way.
Not that I can think of.
Why don't you tell people how they can learn about Love You Too, your business Love You Too? Okay. And tell them again what it is that you do with Love You Too, because I know some people log on late.
So Love You Too, the site is loveutoo.com. And then on Instagram, it's Love You Too, but the dot and the comma are spelled out. So LOVEUTOODOTCOM is the Instagram. And this was something else I wanted to mention. So if you go on either of those, you're going to notice that it's not been updated in a while. And that's because I'm relaunching it. But part of that that break I took was me being nice to myself and taking some time to figure out how do I continue to keep it where it's just as useful to everybody else, but it does not stress me out as much as it used to. Because a lot of, I get tons of compliments and people love, what I shared, but they didn't know that on the back end, I was always stressed out getting all that stuff done. So I'm relaunching it this year, hopefully in the spring. But I'm also being nice to myself about when that happens, because I know everything on the back end it takes to make it as nice and cool and interesting as it is. But so basically I help people create self-acceptance strategies so they can get the most out of life. And the one thing we didn't mention earlier is I call myself a self-acceptance and color therapy coach, because so in addition to the self-acceptance strategies, those are like all the things that we know you can do to feel good about yourself. Mm-hmm. Then we pair them with colors, and those colors they're not like the main part of it, but they are a tool you can use to help you keep doing those things.
Yeah. Yeah. So Lori Jo Vest, who's a friend of ours, raves
Mhm.
about her session that she had with you and how you all picked colors that really represented what she was kind of going through,
Mhm.
and how just being surrounded by these types of colors really helped her. So I really loved that. And I'm so glad that you are being nicer to yourself so that you can continue your business and you can continue to create content, because I think as business owners, and especially for those folks who are still working while creating their businesses on the side, not as a side hustle, but purposefully and trying to do it in a way that makes sense. I'm glad that you're taking better care of yourself, because when we get
Yeah.
stressed out, we burn out and we leave. So many businesses, I think, so many great ideas don't get to the masses because we don't treat ourselves kind when we're in the process of doing this, and we just burn out, and then you hate doing the work that you love.
Mhm. And I
Honestly,
didn't
I know
want to.
that that's what happened in the corporate world. Like, I
Yeah.
was so stressed out about what was happening in the workplace and what I was personally dealing with that I ended up hating a job that I really loved.
Mhm.
So we have to be nicer to ourselves, so that we can continue the great work that has been laid out for us.
Exactly.
So thank you so much for being here today. I do know that I want you to tell people about this upcoming, is it a workshop? Is it a,
Oh, it's
tell me what
a
you're doing.
yeah. So I was invited to speak on a summit called the Video Reframe Summit,
Mm-hmm.
and it is February 23rd through 25th. There are, I think, 12 other speakers, and everybody's talking about how you can use video content to grow your business. And so my presentation is on how to use storytelling to create transformative, helpful content.
Oh, I like that. That's really good for anybody who is starting a business. Video is the way to go. I waited 2 years before I started putting video out, even though I was coaching my clients to put it out because I knew it worked. I was super insecure about it. Like, there's no two ways about it. That's what it was. But once I started creating video content and then people could get to know me and my personality, I'm telling you, my business just took off. It really did.
Yeah.
So that's going to be
And
a
then
great channel. I know
and
you'll be.
combining storytelling with it is like that'll take you far, really far.
Yeah.
And we're going to go over a lot of things that'll help you easily create your video content.
Yeah, because that's the other thing too. I think people think it's so difficult to do and they can't
Mhm.
find the time, but you probably have all the tools at your disposal already.
Yep.
So start creating. Tell everybody one more time where they can find you on social media, because they'll probably want to connect with you.
Ooh, okay. I think last time we did this, I was like, oh God, I have a bunch of accounts.
It's like, what social media places you're on. It's like, I stumped you with this question. She's on Instagram. Okay. She's on LinkedIn. She's on Twitter. I'm going to tell everybody for you. Dom Wilson or Dominique Wilson. Go look her up. Okay.
Yeah,
Now you
that's the
tell me
easiest.
what to say.
And then on those, you'll see how to get to love you too.
Yeah. See? There we go. So follow Dom Wilson on social media. She's on all these different channels. Really good at what she does. A compassionate person. One of my favorite people, who I will have back again and again. And we're going to the Henry Ford soon.
Yes, I'm
I'm
excited.
so excited. I know, because that's part of self-love, right? Is taking time to spend time with people who really like fill your cup.
Yep, exactly.
So I'm excited about that. So everybody, thank you so much for listening today. Follow listen, don't follow me on YouTube, because it's garbage. Let's just be real. I started doing this out of fun, and then all of a sudden everybody was like, well, you got to do YouTube. And I was like, oh God. So I put them up, but don't follow me there, okay? Go and follow me. I'm just being real. You can follow Maximum Communications, though, on Facebook and on LinkedIn. Let me tell you why you'll want to follow my LinkedIn page, because I'm also giving away some mini workshops. I'm just doing pop-up lives. I'm not telling people when I do them. But if you're following me on LinkedIn, when I go live, you'll be able to take advantage of some of these mini workshops that I'm doing. So everybody, thank you so much. I'll be back next week. As always, I can't remember who's on, but it'll be somebody great, because, I don't have anybody on that's not. So thanks, everybody. Tom, I love you so much, and I'll see you soon.
Love you too.
All right. Bye, everybody.